The Last Line is a completely free podcast, but takes a lot of time, effort, and hard work to make happen. So if you'd like to support the show, then please head over to patreon.com/The Last Line. Thank you.
You're listening to The Last Line with James O'Byrne. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time you're listening to the podcast. My name is James O'Byrne, and this is episode 15 of The Last Line. Thank you very much for joining me once again. And this week, you'll be hearing me talk to none other than actor and comedian Alex Lowe. Alex, of course, other than appearing in various TV shows and films down the years, is the creator and voice behind the character Barry from Watford. You're obviously, if you've ever listened to Steve Wright's BBC Radio 2 show or Iain Lee's radio shows over the year, you would have heard Barry as a caller. Maybe you didn't realise he wasn't a real person, maybe you didn't realise it was Alex doing it. But it is Alex. He is the man behind the mask. He also has a weekly podcast with Angelos Epithemiou, the Angelos and Barry Show, which you can also see live. He appeared alongside Noel Edmonds on a Channel 4 show, Cheap, 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 which had a short run in 2017. You'll hear us talk about that later. A rather interesting combination. Barry from Watford and Noel Edmonds. Alex is also well known, of course, for his brief appearance in Phoenix Nights as the character Clinton Baptiste. And you'll also hear us talk about that later, as Alex recently has, the second series is well out by now. At the time of recording, it was about to go out the week after we were recording, but first two seasons of Clinton Baptiste's Paranormal podcast are live, and I would recommend wholeheartedly going to listen to it. They are very funny. You can also hear Clinton Baptiste occasionally appear on Sean Keaveney, friend of the show, Sean Keaveney's Six Music show every now and again, which is always fun. So there's so much to talk to Alex about. He's got such a varied career, and we do cover a lot over the course of this conversation. But first, just as I hit record, Alex was asking me as to whether I've not hit record before, and you'll hear a story about one of my podcasts. I'm not going to give away who that podcast was that I failed to hit record on, and it's one you've heard, but it's a very embarrassing story. But you hear me tell it to Alex at the very start of our interview. There's nothing like making your guest feel comfortable that you are in control of a situation. Nothing like assuring someone of your professionality in a situation, if professionality is indeed a word, than telling them that you've forgotten to hit record before. But that's what I did with Alex, and that's what you'll hear now. I did have that actually once.
Oh God!
The third podcast I did.
I didn't get any of it.
I noticed 20 minutes in that we weren't recording.
You didn't tell the person.
Well, see, what I should have done.
Yeah.
Is just quietly hit record and just carried on.
You went, oh no!
I did.
God.
So if you listen to the raw recording, the first thing you hear from the guy I was speaking to is, "You're shitting me."
Oh.
Which then made me feel like...
Well, I'm glad it's not just me who does those things.
It just made me feel awkward for the rest of the thing.
Oh well.
He was very nice about it, but...
Well, that's all right, isn't it? You know, it's easy done. I tend to, if ever I'm around anything technical, it breaks down. Really, I've got some magnetic electronic field around me that things fuck up. You know, like I can't really change a light bulb very well. I tried to change a light bulb 3 times the other night and knocked it, and every time this light bulb blew. And I've had an electrician in, and I'm too embarrassed to explain. Well, I had him for various other things. I was too embarrassed to say about this one particular light, because, you know, as a man of 51, to not be able to change a light bulb.
Oh, I'm useless at any of that stuff.
Oh, God.
I'm terrible. But it doesn't help because my dad's like not any good at that stuff.
No, that's
either.
good. Mine wasn't either. Mine
So
was
it's
terrible.
just like,
No.
I picked up from him.
So you're what would be a right brainer or a left brainer? It's something like that. If
Whichever
you're
is
probably some arty brainer. we can't be expected. We can't be expected to deal with, you know,
The practical
low level
things.
shit like that. Yeah.
Low level shit.
Highfalutin, aren't we? We got bigger, better
We're
ideas.
thinking about ideas.
Yeah, of course we are. Can't be expected to change a light bulb when there are light bulbs going off in my head all the time.
Oh, that's good.
Brilliant.
That should be on a T-shirt, shouldn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I guess a good place to start is, so I've been a fan of yours for a while,
Oh, great.
but it's sort of in the last couple of years I've sort of, because I was always a big fan of you in Phoenix Nights.
Oh, yeah.
Because Clinton Baptiste is that sort of
Brief.
but it's a bit like, it's like the, you know, in The Office, Matthew Holness's Simon the IT guy who comes in for like and steals the whole thing. That's a bit like Clinton Baptiste, I think. He comes in and just steals the thing, and that's like one of the characters you always remember.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of large than life with a big blonde wig and all that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I remember at the time Peter Kay phoning me up. I was doing a play in Worcester, and he phoned me up and said, "Have I got a part for you?" And I thought, oh yeah, and it was, because I'm still talking about it now, 18 years later, you know.
Why? Because you've done like a lot of characters, like over the year. You've like been in so many things, doing so many different things.
Yes. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's how I always say it. Yeah.
Why do you think Clinton is like one of the ones that you've sort of always gone back to?
Well, I think first of all, it's a shameless attempt by me, and thankfully Peter Kay has allowed me to do it, to just capitalise on the huge success of Phoenix Nights. So really, I'm just kept flogging this horse. Hopefully it's not a dead one yet. I just think, do you know what? What I like about it, and what probably people like about it, is that it is it's an affectionate look back at something that is in the British psyche, that sort of end of the pier cabaret entertainment. Yeah. And you know what we like in this country? We like a plucky loser, and that sort of game performer who is still trying. You know, we like a trier, don't we? We don't like people to be successful. We do like people to try. Yes. We like Eddie the Eagle and Frank Bruno. We don't like, real success stories. So I think people like that, you know, the sort of, they like also the mucky grandeur. You know, it's like, they like tinsel and it's all a bit crap, and you can see the cogs working. That's the delight of it. You know, that's sort of the British psyche. We don't like it too flash. We like to be able to see the grime.
Because there's just like little things, and not to blow smoke up your ass, although why not? But like there's just little things where you in that Phoenix Nights episode where you go to sit on the stool and you slightly miss it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm touring Clinton now. I'm doing a show and I do a podcast that did really well, and we've got a new series coming out. Which is classic second series syndrome, and so I've tried to pepper it full of all those tiny little idiosyncrasies. Clinton having short fuse, really, and his other thing is he's very undiplomatic, and so he doesn't really couch things as kind of carefully as he should do, which, just to segue off a bit, has got me in a lot of trouble recently. Because mate, honestly, I was chased at a gig in Winchester about 10 days ago, and Bruce Dessau covered it on his comedy website. But there's a bit of language coming up now. I've got to warn you, James. But there's a bit which I often do in my show where I go out and I'm giving me readings, and I'm like, now I've got someone here. It's a man or a woman. Is that ringing any bells? And this sort of thing. And there was a guy there, and there's a bit that sometimes gets a huge laugh where I say, "What's your name, mate?" And they say, you know, Pete or something. I go, yeah, someone called Dave thinks you're a con. And you know, and that's sort of from the heavens. Anyway, I picked on the wrong person who wasn't happy with that, and he was a French fella.
Right.
So maybe it's exactly as I say, that kind of British sensibility of northern working men's clubs doing that kind of cabaret doesn't translate to a French bloke in Winchester. He didn't get what I was doing at all and took offence and wouldn't stop shouting in French.
And did you remain in character?
I did,
yeah.
I mean, it's unbearable. So I did my best to deflect it. I was saying, but I meant this seriously. I said, no, I think there's just a difference in culture. By which I meant, I think you don't quite get
the comedy
what I'm doing,
bit,
and you know, it's knockabout. And then that didn't get any response. So I said, you've got a lot of culture and I haven't got any. Nothing. And then he was sort of shouting, it was clearly French swear words. So I said, now I don't speak French, but I've got the feeling you're not very happy. So then it was unbearable, because what happened was I called the whole thing to a halt because I couldn't really compete with it. And then to my horror, he followed me off the stage and was literally wrestled away from me by my agent and James Gill, who's another comedian, while I hid down the corridor.
Blimey.
And,
so it's like the real.
It's exactly like the real Clinton. And you know, it's sort of, I mean, I come on stage with a plaster and a bruise round my eye, which I do for every gig, and you know, that's sort of an acknowledgement that I like to think people understand what I'm doing. That's the character. He's unsubtle, he's undiplomatic, he's clumsy. That's kind of what you're getting. And if you don't understand that, there is a slight worry. And I hate to say it, I know I sound like the Daily Mail, but there is a huge... there's a lot of people who like to go out who like the idea of being offended. You know, that used to be a sort of knockabout, well, I get it, it's a joke, it's a stand-up comedy thing. But there's a lot of kind of virtue signalling, people who like to be collectively very upset with... You know, it's obvious what it is. It's a comedy character with a big fucking blonde wig and a white satin suit.
Yeah.
Who's claiming to be on a hotline to Princess Di. It's not real, and also it's from a TV show, which a lot of people seem to know.
Yeah.
Where that was the joke about the character, and he ends up being pummeled. So, you know, sometimes I've tried to recreate that. God, what a long answer to a very short question.
So was it your own show that he'd bought a ticket for, or was it like a bill of other comedy?
Right. To be fair to him, it was not. I just appeared at the end.
But he'd still gone to a comedy show.
Yeah, he'd gone to a comedy show, and there was a lot of knockabout stuff, and there was a little bit of heckling and other comedians answering back. It's not breaking the mould, is it, to see a comedy club where someone answers you back? I mean, the fact was, he started off, he shouted out Jacko, by which I assume he meant, have you contacted Michael Jackson?
Right.
And if you're doing stand-up comedy, if someone shouts something out very loud, quite close to the stage, you're sort of duty-bound to acknowledge it. You can't just ignore it. I mean, so he started...
He's got to play the game that he's entered into.
If I come back to, you know, that's kind of... Don't shout out then if you want a quiet life. And I'm not even someone, you know, I'm an actor first and a stand-up second.
Yeah.
I'm not really... I like to have my script and I stick to it. And, you know, to be honest, I shit myself if people start shouting. I'm not one of these jongleurs type comics when it's all about crowd control. And, you know, so it was a bit of a shock. But it was more of a shock that he literally wanted to pummel me. I mean, that is out of the question. I thought about being brave and, you know, having a conversation with him, but I figured if he was prepared to stand up in front of 400 or 500 people, as it was, and this was like a school PTA, and walk over the stage while people booed him and his wife tried to stop him, I kind of thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to argue my way out of this one.
What you just said then was something I was going to ask you about, actually, because I heard you say it somewhere else as well. You said I'm an actor first.
Yeah, I've probably been doing stand-up for about 10 years as Barry from Watford, and now mostly as Clinton Baptiste. But those are characters, they're three-dimensional characters, hopefully. And I suppose what I mean by that is I like to carefully craft my script, and I like to immerse myself, this sounds very pretentious, but immerse myself in what I'm doing, rather than it just being a sort of, and if that is one thing I could do, it would be doing Ross Noble's, or I've seen McIntyre back in the day totally go off piste and just do the whole hour with the crowd and just make stories from, I can't do that, it's just not in my makeup, but I'd love to be able to do that. Occasionally you'll be sidetracked and you have to. So that's what I mean by that. Or maybe I'm naive. Maybe most comedians, that's not what they're doing at all, and they are following a set.
But that surprised me you say that, though, because because obviously you do a lot of phoning into radio shows and stuff, and presumably that's
all
not
improvised. Yeah.
So you can do it. You are quite good at just coming up with.
I sort of am. I'm a bit of a shitter, though. If I see the whites of people's eyes,
right.
But there's always a terror. They're going to go, well, what's this? Dan Skinner and I, we do Angelos and Barry, and we do, improv shows with our podcast, and we at the Museum of Comedy. We've done Dingwalls before, the Underbelly, huge, and a couple of those have been huge audiences. And Dan and I, whilst we improvise our hearts out all day long, there's something about a sea of faces who've paid, going, well, go on in, And I've often said to Dan, can we meet up and just not rehearse, but just really pinpoint some great comedy ideas? And Dan always says, no, they know what it is. They know it's improvised. You can't cheat that. And if they don't like it, I will personally stand there and hand back their money. And I'm thinking, well, you won't be doing that. But, that's the point. There's just something about that. It's kind of quite extreme. The stakes seem quite high, having an audience who have paid, and particularly if it's a kind of discerning London comedy audience. The horror of them going, well, this is derivative, or it's not quite what I was expecting. I saw, Ross Noble last week, and he was much. You know what I mean? That's my horror. That somehow I'm competing in a field that's not quite what I'm used to.
Do you think, because I just mentioned to you just before we started, that I've just started doing stand-up.
Yeah.
So just open mics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And do you think, you talked then about sort of competing, do you think stand-up is a competition in that sense, or do you think you just focus on
your thing,
what you're doing, and just don't think about?
Well,
because I think every sort of comedian has a different take on it. So.
Well, you know what? Luckily, I don't hang around with stand-ups. I don't know. If ever I'm in a dressing room, they're always talking about this producer and that one, and this one died at the, the Laughter House, and this one was at the up the creek, and this, and this one. I don't know anyone they're talking about, because I managed to spread myself so thin with being an actor and a writer, and but what I will say is, I sort of prefer the atmosphere in a theatre dressing room with actors rather than stand-ups. I don't now get to my age of 51 hanging around with thrusting, ambitious, gimlet-eyed young graduates who are sort of in the wings going, how long's he done? That's not really for me. I do like, even if actors are insincere, at least there's a sense that you're all in it together. When you're in the dressing room before a show. When I started, I won't mention the name, but when I first started about 10 years ago, I remember doing a gig at Jongleurs, and this particular comedian, I turned up with all my Barry stuff, my props and my prosthetics, and I just remember him sort of turning around and going, I haven't seen you on the circuit before. Really sort of hostile, and I'm thinking, oh no, I wasn't expecting this. And then he started talking about, you die 5 times in your career before you give it up. If you once or twice, okay, but I think after about the 5th time, I thought, who? why are you mentioning dying it? Dying. Why? I haven't even gone on stage yet. So immediately I was on the back foot, and that felt like a sort of tactical thing. I don't know where that came from.
Also, 5 doesn't seem like a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do it.
I suppose he meant 5 in a row. I don't know what he meant. Like... I don't know what he meant, but I prefer. I kind of quite like that. I'm getting older and gentler now. I like the camaraderie of actors. Stand-ups, they're always going to be in competition, just because it feels. I don't know. It just feels like. I always think it's like the crack cocaine of performing. I'm sure everyone said this. It's you, your material, a microphone. There's no, I like the design. I thought it was a really interesting take on, with elements of Chekhov. It's none of that. It's like, did I laugh? Didn't I laugh?
Yeah.
So it feels like, I'm always shitting myself when I turn up to do a gig, and if I have a gig in the evening, I feel sick all day long.
If I know I'm doing a 5-minute spot like that night, I just feel sick all day. And then...
so do I. And now this geezer has tried to chase me down a corridor in a school in Winchester. I feel nervous for a slightly different reason. Dying on stage is one thing. Dying kicked to death in a corridor is another one.
Yes, I do think like there does seem to be like a sort of, and I'm sure you get it in any sort of art form, but there is definitely like a snootiness in comedy, I think, about like what type of comedy you do. Yeah.
Well, there is. I really, I don't like that. I hate that.
No.
I mean, Dan Skinner came to my gig at the 100 Club, which I've been doing for many, many years, off and on. And it's Barry's bingo.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely night, and it was really packing it out. I'm sure if I wanted to carry on doing it, we could still get nice big audiences. And he looked around and whispered in my ear, God, your gigs are like a screwdriver benefit gig. Because it was like a lot of middle-aged sort of right-wingers, he thought. And I thought, oh my God, it is a bit. But you know what? That's not true.
Yeah.
That is not true. But I don't see there's anything wrong with doing. I do a lot of good old-fashioned jokes, and a lot of puerile double entendres, and there's nothing wrong with that because that still makes me laugh.
Yeah, because I've started doing sort of the I say doing stand-up loosely because I've only just started, but mine sort of is like semi-character. It's not like it's not. I'm not going full sort of prosthetic,
No.
But it's, I'll sort of start doing a little bit about, I'll sort of set it up as myself, and then I'll go into the sort of the character. And it does feel like, and it's not to say that what I'm doing is unique or anything like that, but it does feel when I do open mics that I'm the only one doing something like that.
Right.
There seems to be a lot of people doing. I find a lot of open mics very angry.
Yes.
Comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
Like very angry.
About what? Politics?
Politics or just a lot of people trying to do really sort of. I don't want to use the word offensive material, but you know what I mean, like very edgy sort of.
Yeah.
Which I've not got a problem with, but
make sure it's funny.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like, also I feel like with you watch a Ricky Gervais show or something and you know what you're going to get with him.
Yes.
And he's also like established himself as like that's what he does, and you have like a sort of trust in him.
Yeah.
When it's like a bloke doing stand-up for the first time, 5 minutes, I haven't built up a level of...
No, that's right. Yeah, you don't really know where it's coming from. I mean, that's the thing, you need to know... Sean Mio, the comedian, gave me a great bit of advice, which is... Well, a couple of things he said to me about... He said... I mean, it's obvious, probably to you young comedian types, but he said, when you're going up to the microphone there, you're taxiing up the runway, and your first 2 jokes, the 2-joke rule, hit them with your best one, bang. But there's the audience are going, that's his best joke. But no, you've got another one, so bang, bang, early. But this has some connection with what you just said. They need to trust you, and they need to know that you can get off. It's like an airline pilot. You need to get off the ground. And he said you can glide in the middle of the act, you can crash land, but you have got to get their trust and up in the air. And I think that's the thing of what you're talking about, you know, to just come on and fly this thing recklessly. You will go, I'm not sure I like this. You know, they need to have confidence in you. Yeah. You know, there's nothing worse, is there, than cringing. That
just coming out straight away and shouting cunt doesn't really like...
No, I must drop that from my set.
No, but it's like... No, but again, with you, you've built...
Yeah, I imagine there's never, yeah, I mean, you sort of get it. I have quite a slow build to Clinton.
Yeah. Or you may already have a sort of, as you were saying earlier, a backstory of, I know who Clinton is, so I know what to expect going in.
That's right, and even if they don't know what to expect, I think all the signals are there. I come on with this huge, grandiose music and thunder and lightning going off. And I get up to the mic and you think it's going to be some Ian McKellen style wizardry. And I say, all right, spirit's very strong tonight. And immediately you know what it is. It's undercut that. So you sort of know what it's going to be. End of the pier, pretension.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all that kind of horrible swearing agitprop rubbish. I mean, it's unbearable, isn't it? But I think isn't I've always understood the thing to be with any sort of taste in comedy, stand-up comedy, you know, or any pushing the envelope. As I say, the golden rule is just make sure it's funny. You can say anything, really, as long as it's funny. And how you define funny, or how do you reach funny, I don't know. But if it ain't funny, it's 10 times worse if you've really tried to upset people or... I mean, that's the worst, isn't it? I mean, to just get it so horribly wrong, you know, got that much further to fall if you're... I mean, I've seen that before. People come on, they think, this is a very, very stupid thing to think, but, you know, very keen, young, new comedians who think the thing to do is just to say the most shocking thing they can think of. What is the point in that? Because we've all thought it or heard it before. You know, I remember seeing that sort of thing 25, 30 years ago. Still doing that?
Well, because it's not as shocking as because you just go, yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah, what are you going to say about that? Yeah. You know, just leaving it out there. And personally, my thing, this seems completely obvious to say this, but any sort of paedophile jokes, it's just not funny. It's just not... I don't know, maybe because I've got children. It's just not funny. If you're going to do that...
It's got to be good.
It's got to be ingenious, doesn't it? It's got to be... What's the point in saying that stuff? It's just... If the idea is to repulse me, well done.
Yeah.
Great, you've succeeded. Well, I won't be coming to see you again. But I don't know what that is. It's a really unsophisticated... Look, I'm saying the obvious. It's a really unsophisticated way of doing comedy, isn't it? I'll just think of the most disgusting thing I can think of.
Sorry, I've just completely lost my train of thought there. You hit me with paedophile and that just sort of... sort of on a tangent.
Yeah.
I didn't realise you were a child actor before.
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, you know what? I come from a very a sort of lower middle class family where they go to work at 9, come home at 5, and they were very supportive and they were my chaperones and all that. But this silly, bloody performing nonsense was just way out of the question. So hats off to them. When I was about 11, I grew up in Pinner, which was quite a nice kind of middle class area before there was a stabbing 2 days ago there. About the first one I've heard of. But and I think some sort of friends of mine when I was about 11 or 12 went to this drama school in Pinner, which was not a drama club, it wasn't a drama group, it was a very sort of strict sort of drama school, which was run by two women who taught at Central, actually, Central School of Drama. And so from about the age of 11 to 18, I just was going there, and we were doing text work, we were doing poetry, and we were doing improv, and putting on shows and doing Guildhall exams, all the rest of it. So sort of strangely by osmosis, I had quite a long training as an actor, and they had an agency attached to it. My parents were very funny about me missing school and all that, but I think actually what happened was, you have a tutor there for 2 hours a day when you're filming, and I think I did more work when I was actually filming, TV shows than I did at school. But I did Another Country, which was in the West End, which is a play with Rupert Everett and Kenneth Branagh, and Mansfield Park for the BBC, which is a costume drama, and I grew into Nicholas Farrell. So I started off as young Edmund Bertram. I did these Adrian Mole cassettes when they first came out, and lots of bits and pieces. But, even to this day, I feel a bit like, I'm constantly looking over my shoulder thinking I'm going to have to get a proper job one day. Really, and I think probably it's too late now. No one is going to employ me to do anything else, which is a relief in a way. But for many, many, many years, I've struggled with this, doing any of this for a living. It just seems so silly, and I've never really been able to afford to do it. There's a lot of kind of rich kids who manage to do it, and they've got a trust fund. So that's why I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, doing the stand-up, and I have card ranges in the shops, and I have to sort of justify most minutes of my day. I'm not a big one for sitting around. I find it in the evening I can't really watch telly either. I think there's something I could be doing to, even if it's checking Facebook, or see if you've got in touch with me, or someone sent me a direct message on Twitter about a gig or something. It's a very Thatcherite. Well, you won't remember Margaret Thatcher, but honestly, things have shifted. It feels like young people in my day, and it might be to do with not necessarily being able to afford your own home. It's a slightly more a feeling of sod, there's nothing I can do about it. I know friends of mine who got proper jobs in London. A friend of mine is a solicitor, and he says about he can't get over, young, totally able young solicitors who spend a lot of their time discussing the amount of time they want off for a holiday, or it's kind of unthinkable stuff that used to be when he started off, which doesn't seem to me to be that long ago, same time as me. He had 3 weeks holiday a year, and the prospect of negotiating with his boss, it is my 30th birthday, my girlfriend's got us tickets to go to Oslo, but you'd be fucking laughed out of the office. And I'm not saying this I don't want to sound like some bleating of middle-aged, dried-up middle-aged husk. But all I'm saying is there's a change in culture, and I think it's hard to break out of that kind of Thatcherite thing. If you work hard enough, you will get your results, which is plainly not true, is it? It's just bullshit.
Do you think, though, that's that attitude has served you well, though? The fact that you don't just sit around and watch, because I often think if I actually just got off my arse a bit more sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I should get off my arse a bit less. I think I've spread myself so thin over the years. I'm always chasing some bloody wild goose chase about someone who's offered me a gig once, or I met this director and I could get in touch with him. And I don't think it's good. It comes across as desperate. I don't think... as an actor, I've stopped doing it in the last 10, 15 years, but people used to ask me to go and do readings at the BBC for their sitcom. Because I'm a good sport, but mostly because I thought there might be a job at the end of it, I used to do that. So I'd be sitting there reading the narration of someone's sitcom. The door opens. I won't say who, because some of these are quite well-known sitcoms now. And it very rarely ended in a job. You just look like a bit of a mug. So I think you do have to set your stall out a bit more, and I think only in recent years I've kind of learned how to do that. But I think you do have to work quite hard, but I don't think you have to be like me, because it gets on everyone's nerves. Get on your wife's nerves, you'll find.
Right.
Yeah, that happens. That, you know, I just can't relax. And
Can't switch off.
No, it's very difficult if you're self-employed. But I think if you're self-employed in any walk of life, you've got absolutely no safety net. It's very difficult. And if you are, as I say, some trust fund kid, this is not me doing the working class hero thing, but if some trust fund kid, you don't have to worry about that. So you have got all the time in the world. But, you know, I think if you don't and you're trying to be self-employed, it's very difficult, and it seems to be increasingly difficult.
But more and more people seem to be doing it, though. It's weird. It's weird. Like, people, it does seem to.
Yes.
You look at it and you go, it does look like it's increasingly difficult to be self-employed. But the whole gig economy thing is so.
That is true, except maybe a lot of those people are smart like you, and they've worked in Shoreditch, or they understand new media better than me. You know, I think I've managed to keep going recently because I've started doing a lot more stand-up gigs. I've discovered podcasting, which I'm hoping is going to yield some dividends soon, but occasionally will result in a bit of money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the gig economy, you know, young thrusting media Londoners probably, I don't know, have figured out a way of monetizing things in a way that as I said, you know, we just started this, we're talking about not being very good with technical stuff.
Yeah.
I can't, you know, I literally have to get up on stage and put my life in my hands, it seems, and, you know, put my head in the lion's jaws and earn money like that. What I'm aware is I sound like I'm flying my own flag, and aren't I great and brave? I don't want to, you know, I'd like to take things a bit more easy, but, you know, it's constantly, cost of living is going up and wages don't seem to be going up for me particularly. So just got to keep going and hope I can keep going before I drop dead. What a misery I am.
Podcasting.
Yes.
So you just make, because you do seem to have quite a few podcasts.
I do, yeah.
So you got Clinton Baptiste.
Clinton Baptiste Paranormal podcast, which just finished series 2 and it's out this Monday the 1st.
This will be out after that.
Yes, okay, well, anyone out there.
But go and listen.
Clinton Baptiste Paranormal Podcast, which has Harry Shearer in it now, from Simpsons, Lewis McLeod, Carrie-Ad Lloyd, Pippa Evans, Jack Kerwin, has a lot of great people in it, Dan Skinner, who, you know, have improvised. There's a lot of improvisation. And then there's Angelos and Barry that I do with Dan. And there's another one I was doing, the ESPN Head in the Game podcast, which they sort of alternate between me and a younger person who knows more about the sport than I do. So
I only found that out last night.
Yeah, I kind of stopped doing it. I do it every now and then, but it's about American sports. I don't know anything about that.
So I listened to the only one I've listened to because I just thought, I'll listen to one tonight, so I sort of know what's going on. And it was see, I do like American sports.
Ah, okay.
So
do you want to be in it?
Sure.
Do you want to be in it?
Sure.
Give
why
me your
not?
name. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, sure.
So I listened to the Knicks Wizards.
This
is the very first one, I think.
Yeah.
So, and because I'm a Knicks fan, right? So I thought I'll listen to that one.
Yeah, and it was apparent I knew nothing about it.
But it was quite funny. I thought it was funny though, but I couldn't work out whether it was supposed to be that you guys didn't know.
No, it is supposed to be that, and I think that's what they wanted to set up at the start, ESPN. And it's me and Jamie Lang from
which is an interesting combination.
Yes, it is. I think initially when we started, the idea was going to be I was going to do sort of comedy characters, and then they didn't like that.
Right.
And then it was just a sort of me as an older bloke from Generation X and him from Generation Y, and how would we rub along together? And you know, I think it's quite funny and nice and charming because he's a nice guy. I like him, but I don't know. I sometimes think it might be better if I knew more about.
I don't know. I thought it was quite funny because I did think, well, that is random. Jamie Lang.
I know.
And you.
Yeah.
It's not like a pair I would immediately think of.
No, it's not. It's not.
But it kind of works, I think.
Oh, that's good.
It kind of like there's you're quite good as a little.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I don't mind doing more. Maybe I should just learn more about American sports. That's the thing. Then just have something to say.
But there's plenty of. I suppose there's plenty of actual. Not actual podcasts. It is an actual podcast. But you know what I mean. There's plenty
to
of
experts.
Yes.
Yeah. There are. Yeah. I mean, it's good fun. I think it's quite jolly. Presumably, people still like it.
So how did you get involved in that then? If you're not into...
My friend
you into
Chris
sport
Pavlo.
Generally?
Yes,
or?
I am. I'm a massive football fan.
Right.
Huge football fan. I'm a season ticket holder at Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Right.
Just because my son got into it. I was a QPR fan. I stuck a picture of QPR v Wolves on the fridge.
Right.
And he went for the bloody wrong ones when he was about 7.
My uncle is a Wolves fan.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm a Man United fan, so...
Oh, you weren't there the other day? Oh, it was sensational. Absolutely sensational it was. So yeah, I'm sort of into that. But no, the reason I got that gig is my friend Chris Pavlo runs the podcast company, and he said we need a sort of foil to Jamie Lang.
Right.
Who is very much the demographic they want, young professional blokes. But it would be great if it would be good to have an older head there. And so, you know, we did it, and I still do it. I think there's going to be a sort of rolling sidekick to him. But at the moment, I think what happened is that it's probably a bit too blokey. It was all blokes, not many women involved, and so they've got a woman co-host now who's a bit younger.
No, I thought it was good though. I was enjoying it.
Oh,
so.
Good.
But it did. Yeah, it was just the combination struck me as either a genius moment of inspiration
or disaster. But I think it's quite fun. You know, we can rub along together, chat together. You know.
Another sort of odd combination. Look at that segue. Another odd combination of characters.
Yes.
Is Barry.
Yes.
And Noel Edmonds.
Yes. Absolutely.
How did that happen?
I have done a lot of work with Hat Trick over the years, and my friend Helen Joins, formerly Helen Williams, is producer there, and Noel Edmonds had this idea for Cheap. Now, for anyone listening, I don't think most people even saw this show.
I must confess, I haven't seen it.
It was 31-hour episodes, 31
I've seen as many clips as I could find online.
And it was on Channel 4. It's incredible to think that somehow it came and went, but it was on in the middle of summer. And I suppose the alarm bells must have been blaring at the time. That, I thought it was going to be a smash hit. But they put it on in, I think it was late July or something. And I remember speaking to Hat Trick going, "You're kidding, they must have no faith in this. They're going to put it on in the middle of summer." And I was told, no, there's no downtime now. Those days are over. People watch television at all different times on catch up and what have you. I said, okay, and it came out, and it came and went. And I don't think many people watched it. I don't think it got the ironic student crowd to watch it. It could have become a really cult sort of thing.
Well, because that's what it looks from looking at the clips.
Yeah.
It looks like that kind of sort of bizarre.
Yeah, exactly that.
Culty sort of.
It was, but it didn't have a chance for students to go back and watch it, and it didn't have a chance for mums to go back, and have kids at school and be able to watch it during the day. It just kind of came and went. And to be honest, the first few episodes are not great. I was cringing at some of it, but it was the kind of thing you could really see it growing, and it was a sort of sitcom meets game show. I was playing Barry as the sort of warehouse man in a massive wholesale warehouse, and Noel Edmonds was running this thing. And you have contestants coming in, and like The Price is Right, which you won't remember, which was, in the 80s, a huge show. It was like, comparing what's cheaper, this tin of tuna, this tin of tomato. Sounds shit, doesn't it? But, it just was kind of charming, and it's the kind of thing you can see as kind of really charming, colourful wallpaper in the middle of the day on TV, but it just didn't. I just don't think they gave it enough time, and they put it on the wrong time, and like everything now, it's sink or swim. You can't, if it doesn't work first time, fuck it, forget it, let's get something else on. And so it came and went. But I mean, I was really worried that was the death knell for my character Barry. People go, oh no, it's that bloke who's in that failed thing, but no one watched it.
So it's fine.
It's fine.
But I also think there's something about Barry that even if everyone knew that, even if everyone had watched it and say it had failed and it was this big disaster or whatever, not saying it was,
but somehow it could still.
But Barry is like, because he's that kind of character that he could be in that, and then he could laugh about it and just be like.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I often think I should do more with Barry. I'm trying to work on something now, and Dan and I, always trying to come up with sitcom ideas and what have you. But I'm concentrating on Clinton for the time being, and I will return with Barry.
Yeah, because Barry hasn't phoned up any radio stations for a while.
I might do. I mean, occasionally I phone Iain Lee, but I've stopped that just recently. But I think precisely for the reason that I explained earlier, that my poor wife, otherwise there's no time of the day or night when I'm not working.
Doing something.
Yeah, so
especially because Ian's on at like 11 or 10 till 1.
That would be the time for going to bed and making love with my wife. Not
being an old man phoning out Ian.
That would.
Yeah, I think like Barry, if it was like you as a TV presenter presenting something that didn't work.
Yes.
I think it's like very different.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I like to think so. I mean, also Barry is. It's not. Yeah, he's already been in so many. I've had a Radio 4 series, and I did a pilot for Sky. I used to do bits on Big Brother's Big Mouth. I've tapped up on.
I saw some clip as well, which I think I remember watching ages ago when it came out. It was like it was like a YouTube thing.
Oh, not with KSI.
It's like KSI.
Yeah. That's another thing I've done. So Barry has sort of been omnipresent. So with KSI. That's the funny thing, is I have worked with all sorts of incredible actors over the years, and yet my kids, the one thing my son was excited about was doing this foul-mouthed show with KSI, where I was invited to say all sorts of swear words, and he did back, and it was like a roasting.
Yeah.
It was called Demolished, and it seems to have had more hits than most things I've ever done before. But that's the one thing my son is most proud of. KSI. But I remember coming back saying to my agent, I don't get it. Well, the people I've worked with, KSI, apparently the kids love KSI. I said, God almighty, if that's what the kids like these days, I shake my head. If that's what passes as a children's presenter. And my agent went, oh yeah, of course, in your day, Jimmy Savile, David Travis, Stuart Hall. I went, all right, fair enough. Maybe that argument falls down.
Well, he's just like massive now, isn't he?
It's incredible, isn't it?
The whole boxing thing went mental.
And then conveniently that was a draw, wasn't it? So they're going to go and do another one.
They could do a rematch.
It's amazing. But I mean, my son is, I think, he's always on about the money to be earned from YouTube. And it's such a funny thing that's a thing that a lot of kids think, that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to be a YouTuber, that's how I'm going to make my money. That's what I was talking about, the gig economy. There are people who do manage to do that.
Yeah.
That sort of thing is lost on me. I can't really do that. I have to return to traditional.
But then I think equally, I think it goes both ways. I think you have people who can capitalise on that and actually, know how to
the majority of people
work
can't.
It and do it.
Yeah.
But you also get a lot of people who reads all these things on the internet about how you can be a millionaire and through the internet. And so you get all these people who think that it's very easy to do that.
Yeah.
And you go, well, if it's that easy, why haven't you done it?
Yeah, that's right. That is true. There is that. In my tiny way, doing the podcasting and this sort of thing that we're doing, it feels like this sort of stuff is in its infancy.
Yeah.
And this is definitely the way to go. And also people I very much respect, like Sam Delaney. You know Sam Delaney?
Yeah.
He does Top Flight Time Machine, and I've worked with him a lot. Once those people start doing these things, Jason and Joel, Jason Hazley, Joel Morris, they run a podcast company now. Once you see those people doing it, you think, oh, I see, this really is the way it's going. Everything's fragmenting. Yeah. And there is there is money to be made from this sort of thing. But I take your point, just shoving something out there, assuming it's going to make you a millionaire, it's not going to happen.
I think with podcasting as well, is that I feel like there's definitely, it's a slow build kind of thing. It's like the more and more you do,
yes,
so the more people start listening. That and
I think that's right. And you have to do it quite regularly.
And it's like it's putting in. It's an effort thing. It's like it's not. If you think you're going to start a podcast, it's not that quick sort of quick get rich quick sort of thing. Right. It's like you put the effort in, you produce something that's people actually want to listen to. Then it.
Yeah. Well, I really hope there is a way of monetizing this sort of stuff, just because, Dan and I had 1.8 million downloads of Angelos and Barry when we first did it, for which I can't even tell you how little money we've earned. I'm embarrassed to say. And I think, I don't know, something happened, but we didn't receive any money.
Yeah.
And that's just stupidity on our behalf that we didn't sort that out. But it does feel a bit like that. It's like, where's the money? Someone's earning some money here. Why is it never the artists? So I'm hoping with things like Patreon and Audible and bloody Spotify or whatever, that somehow it's kind of becomes much easier to figure out how to earn money. But you're right, in terms of effort, like everything, you've got to put in some effort, haven't you?
Yeah.
That much hasn't changed.
Yeah, if you're hoping for just...
No, you can't. You forget it. But I mean, I think about... this Clinton Baptiste podcast, I had a meeting with Sam Delaney about that. I mean, I produced 6 episodes per series, which, my God, would I earn £300 from the first one? 6 short episodes. And Sam Delaney was saying to me, no, precisely what you said. You just it is a cumulative thing. Yeah. So he churns his Top Flight Time Machine out. It seems to be like every bloody couple of days. So my wife listens to it all the time. And that's, I think, how you do podcasting. You don't do what I do, which is let's craft 6 beautiful episodes. I have to do that because it's a character. I don't think, I don't think anyone wants to listen to me sitting out here just playing Clinton for, an hour of chat.
I would listen. So you've got at least one person.
But so I think if I do it again, I'll have to think about precisely how that works. But yeah, as you say, I think it's about muscle effort, coming out and doing it and keep doing it and building up a following. But monetizing that is still a slight mystery to me.
Yeah. But it feels like it's the new sort of... I don't think radio's dying, actually, because actually from listening to... I sort of started listening to Iain Lee's show. I say Iain like I know him. I don't.
Yeah.
I started listening to Iain Lee's show the last 2 sort of years. And that's actually made me realise that actually radio is still very important for a lot of people, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I think podcasting is sort of the... I don't want to say the young person's radio, but you know what I mean? It's sort of radio for the YouTube generation sort of.
Yeah. But I mean, you must have spoken. I don't know whether people your age ever speak to middle-aged people nowadays, apart from today.
If I have to.
If you have to. But if you do speak to a lot of middle-aged people, they have no idea about podcasting. They don't have the first clue about it.
Yeah.
So many people just don't know anything about it. So that is a huge untapped market, I think. But radio, the other thing about radio, what's so great is what used to happen was Radio 4 was the only outlet for a lot of the stuff I want to do for audio. And me phoning up Iain Lee's show and just doing a Peter Cook style silly voice. But thankfully, it's not just Radio 4. And what I glean from Radio 4 is that they've kind of lost their power a little bit. And I don't know whether it's quite what it was in terms of their comedy output.
Well, I think that, if you look at the way the BBC are going with that sort of that BBC Sounds thing.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
It does look like they've sort of seen that, hang on, everyone's sort of turning to podcasting.
Yeah. Difficult for them to do that, I think, BBC, because for a kick-off, they don't want too much swearing in it. There's a sort of duty as it's partly licence fee, and they're a public corporation. To have people like me on and Dan Skinner going,
I went to the toilet the other day.
Some apparatchik in the BBC going, what? You can't put this out. And a lot of podcasts are. That's the nature of it, isn't it? It's sort of punk, punk broadcasting. To coin a really old phrase.
Yeah. Again, good T-shirt.
Oh God, I'm so middle-aged. Just called it punk broadcasting.
It's not a bad name for a podcast, is it? Really?
Punk broadcasting. That would just be a lot of middle-aged people like me.
Hi guys, welcome to.
Hi guys, welcome to punk broadcasting.
It's punk broadcasting time again.
Far out.
Hey guys. It's radical.
That's right. Don't be square. Join us next time, where we'll be speaking to lead singer of XTC. Dangerous.
What would Barry say?
Barry would say, very nice. It's all very nice. And don't get too down about Rees-Mogg and that lot. They're a bunch of twats, and it's all going to be lovely. Because I've seen every decade, and it's all going to be great. You're a very nice, personable young man, but get a fucking job, for God's sake.
So there you have it, Alex Lowe. My thanks to Alex for joining me on the podcast. We had a lovely time together. We had a lot of laughs, as I expect you heard in that interview. That's another last line done for. We have crossed over the 15 episode mark. I'm not sure why 15 feels like a landmark, but to me it does. 15 seems like a number. And you'd probably suggest that 10's probably more of a landmark, but I don't know. There's something about 15 that feels landmarky. So happy 15th episode, everybody. Imagine when we'll have done as many as Joe Rogan's done. I don't know if you listen to Joe Rogan. Or Mark Maron. Let's have a look at how many podcast episodes Joe Rogan and Mark Maron have done. Joe Rogan. I'm Googling now as I talk to you. This is good, isn't it? This is why you stay to the end for this sort of nonsense. Well, Joe Rogan reached episode 1000 in 2017. I don't know why I'm looking at Wikipedia. The easiest way to do it is to go on his thing, isn't it, and see what his latest episode is. Hang on. Yeah, this is riveting stuff. I know. So he's up to 1,332. That's a lot of episodes. Plus, he does all his spin-off MMA ones. As well. So that's a lot. When I wonder why I'm not as big yet as Joe Rogan, I fail to remember the fact that, he's got 1,300 episodes and I've got 15. Mark Maron, who I would say is probably, the king of podcasts. 1,044. Again, that's a lot of episodes. But he's been doing it a long time. And they do it every week. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to do this every week. That would be nice, wouldn't it? You get to hear my voice every week. Now, when I was editing the start of this podcast, the sort of the front end, the introduction, it required a lot of editing. I wasn't quite on it when I recorded the intro. I feel like I'm much more into it now. I'm recording the outro, which is why I'm rambling a lot more. When I'm feeling into it, I ramble a lot more. So you're welcome. When I was recording the intro and I was listening to my voice, I suddenly realised how nasal my voice is. And I can only apologise for that. I always think, everyone thinks when they speak they've got a lovely voice until they hear it back. But, that is life. So, can't change it. There's a thought. I don't know where that went, quite frankly. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Join us next time. Until then, I've been James Albard, and this is The Last Line.